All right, gang, hey out there, it's Bethany Finch with American Made Home Solutions, and today we have a very special treat for you. We get to welcome Eric Kuovolo, and
Okay.
For those of you that don't know, Eric is from Bellingham, so we're excited for him to join us tonight, and we'd love to be able to capture and spend some time with you. So if you give us a few minutes, we'd like to educate you guys and possibly kind of perk your interest up to something that you may not know about or be aware of. And that's exactly why I wanted to bring Eric here. And so I wanted to just introduce him. And so Eric, we know you're from Bellingham. Who are you and what do you do in a nutshell, right?
Well, thank you, Bethany. I really appreciate being here and appreciate the opportunity to speak to your fans or your group. So, group, okay. Yes, my name's Eric, and I am the founder and director of my company, the Wealth Foundation. And who am I in a nutshell? I'm a big skier. We were talking about that earlier. So that's what brought me to Bellingham and Mount Baker, and I've been here since 2000. But my career has taken me all over, and most of my life has been about skiing. So I went to school back east. I did an internship at a ski resort in Vermont. So rather than going to Wall Street, I went to another resort, and then I moved to California to another ski resort.
Okay, so you only moved where there was a ski resort.
Yes.
You conveniently always keep skiing while you're working.
Yeah, so all my life, I've had careers and jobs around my passion. And that's what I like. I think you should be able to have a good work-life balance.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I agree. And honestly, I think that's what this millennial generation is really pushing towards.
Oh, yeah.
And so to hear someone, I'm not trying to age you, but in our age bracket that has been doing that and you're successful. It's not like you're miserable and you're just this lonely person. I've enjoyed getting to know you. And so it's neat to see that. And kudos to you, by all means, kudos.
Thank you. Well, yeah. I know there's a lot more opportunities for that these days. I think back in our generation, you had to go to school, you climb the ladder 30 years, you retire. I did the opposite. I retired first, went and played while my body was still like really young and strong, and I could do all the skiing and crazy life that I wanted to. And now it's like, okay, now with the virtual world, you can work from anywhere doing new things. I mean, there is no career path. There is no rule book to life anymore.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Well, so that's interesting. So that would bring me to my next question. What are you doing now to provide income then? Because you said you retired. It's like, okay, how is this possible? What are you doing? Because everybody wants to be able to ski and not have to work. So
I'm out of retirement now. I'm going back to work, but I'm still skiing as much as I can. But I have multiple multiple streams of revenue. Okay. I have my Wealth Foundation where I consult people with their retirement and their finances. I'm also a real estate investor and believe in the new opportunities of Airbnb. So the sharing economy, I'm even starting a new e-commerce site. So I'm diversifying and whatever can provide me the passive lifestyle where I can do what I love doing when I can, skiing.
Oh, and that's awesome. Well, honestly, I think we've definitely transitioned as a society from you get up, you go to work, you rinse, repeat, you do it again the next day, and that's what your life consists of. I think society by and large has just gravitated away from that because it's not enough. It either isn't enough to pay the bills or people are finding it less and less fulfilling like it used to be. And so, they're looking at, almost everybody it seems has a side gig or a side hustle, and so that's awesome. So for those people that are like myself, when you say e-commerce, what does that mean?
It's new. It's brand new in my infancy. So I just placed a large order on Alibaba and waiting for my boat to be shipped from China to Seattle. So it's coming in just before the new year here. So we'll see how that goes.
So is it basically like you've kind of started an online store?
I'm still in the learning process, but basically online e-commerce. I'm going to test out selling on Amazon as well.
Oh, gotcha.
And Amazon, you can just ship all the product to Amazon and let them fulfill it for you.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so e-commerce just basically means electronically done.
Yes. Gotcha. So instead of having a brick and retail store, you can have a giant like Amazon do everything from ordering, fulfilling orders, shipping, and getting it to the customer. So just another stream of income.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, and it gives you also something else to learn and grow with, right?
You know what? That's the thing. I talked about retiring before, But now I'm almost even more excited to learn about things. And there's so much, whatever you're interested in, you can learn about it, and you can probably even make a career out of it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's so true. You know, it's kind of like, I think our generation, a lot of them got robbed of their dreams because
Hmm.
I just get up and go to work, and they just figured that was it. So they've kind of lost the art of dreaming. But
Hmm.
like you said, when you start learning, it's like kind of opening that floodgate of, wait, I can dream again. Wait, I really do like this, or dabbling and learning this, and then realizing, oh, I don't like that, but I like learning this. And so it's just opening that door wide open again.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you and I were talking before, and you are actually a finance major.
Correct.
Okay. So what made you decide? I mean, here you are, you go to school for too many years to get this degree. You owe too much money that you end up paying for, right?
Hmm.
To become this finance major, and you're actually not necessarily working in that field, are you?
Well, I am now, but for a long time I wasn't. I
Okay.
worked at different ski resorts. I mean, I even was a wildland firefighter for 2 seasons.
Oh, wow.
So my whole goal was to work all summer and then take all winter off and go skiing and do what I love. So I built my life around my passion, and that's something that people can do now.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, so what made you decide to become an insurance agent then?
Well, I would say my life really changed probably in 2011, and that's the year that I read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, okay.
So realizing the four quadrants, if people are aware of that, there's the employed, the self-employed, the business owner, the investor, and realizing I mean, I was a ski bum. I'd call myself a professional ski bum.
Mhm.
And I realized, it doesn't take a lot of money when you're young. You can eat ramen, you can get by, you can go up, have fun, have a few beers. But I didn't realize that, having more money just amplifies you. It's a tool. And if you're a good person, you have more money, you can do more good. So I think that sounds right.
Yes. No, that's exactly right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I became re-intrigued, and I started reading a lot. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that just changed off a mental shift in my mind. And throughout the process of all this reading, I came across this book called Becoming Your Own Banker. And what it taught me was how to think differently about money. So just like Rich Dad thought, introduced you to thinking a different way about jobs and employment, assets, liability.
Mhm.
Now I'm thinking differently about money and the flow of money, and realizing what I had discovered was so powerful that I had to share it. And that's why I became licensed as an agent.
Okay. Well, and that's actually a very good point, because I think in school we're taught, right?
Hmm.
The first thing they teach you, like in kindergarten, right, is to set up a savings account, and you put
Hmm.
in your money, and you save your money, you save your money, you save your money. But if you really step back and you look at our economy isn't based, it would die if everybody saved their money. Money
True.
has to flow. It has to be liquid. It has to move. And that movement is what creates a good economy, or lack of it creates a bad economy.
Right.
So that's so very true, and opposite of what we are taught literally for the whole 12 years we're in school without
Hmm.
college.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and insurance, why insurance in this case, why that vehicle as opposed to just becoming a full-time real estate investor?
Well, I think of money like a flow, and you think of your income like a river, and imagine all that river just passing you by day after day, and you can pay off debt, and it goes down the river and it eventually goes to the sea. Well, imagine if you started harnessing all that cash flow and you build a dam. Now you can create a hydroelectric power that creates energy. And now not only can you pay your bills, but you can now start what I call the compounding effect. And if you've ever read that book, just doing what you've done during your normal course of life, but creating a way to create your own banking system has allowed me. I mean, the reason I became licensed after finding out about this, implementing it, I'm kind of a number cruncher and I do all my Excel spreadsheets. I went back and realized doing the same thing that I've done all my life, had I done this previously, I gave up the opportunity for having an extra $1 million at retirement
Wow.
just by doing what I was already doing.
Wow.
So if I had built that dam before, I would have had $1 million instead of just letting it go by, pay off debt, refinance, pay down as quickly as you could.
That is amazing that you were able to actually track that and look at that and quantify it into, oh my word, I would have had $1 million.
Yeah, and
You know?
now my mission is to help other people prevent that same mistake. So I was a finance major at a large university. They had never taught about using this type of insurance to create your own banking system.
Mhm.
And we can get into the reasons why later, but the fact that if I didn't know about it, then the majority of other people didn't know about it. And when you discover something cool, whether it's a movie or a book or even like a music album, what do you naturally do? You want to share it with people.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah.
By and large, that's for sure. Well, and so if you saw the insurance as a tool,
Mhm.
and in this case, we're referring to life insurance.
Correct.
So if you saw that as a tool and you looked at it and went, okay, it's kind of like this mind shift. I can apply this tool in this way. It sounds like that is what made you go, okay, there's way more value in becoming an insurance agent and using this as my tool than there is, say, just being the full-time real estate investor.
Exactly. I feel like I can impact and leave a legacy on not only my life and my family and my generations, but also other people's. And these are principles that are used by wealthy Congress people, former presidents. And I don't know if you ever heard of like the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds. This is something that wealthy families are doing to create and pass on generational wealth.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so we can't hold our audience in suspense any longer. So tell them.
Okay.
So we know we're talking about life insurance, but why don't you give them kind of a brief scenario about what in this case, what your particular product that you're referring to and that we're talking about is.
Okay. Well, it's a very specific product that's been around for a long time. What we're doing is we're just turbocharging it to use it for not necessarily its intended initial use. So we're using life insurance, and specifically we're using a whole life insurance policy. And what we're doing with that whole life insurance policy is we're adding different types of riders that allow you now to create your own banking system. So it allows you to withdraw money without penalty or taxation to pay off that debt, to pay down your mortgage quicker, and have it compound without realizing or having your growth impacted by any amounts taken out to pay down those expenses or liabilities.
Okay, so I remember the first time you explained it to me, and it immediately was like, how is that even possible? I was so in the dark and so confused. How long has this product been around?
So whole life insurance has been around since the 1800s. I mean, this is weathered through the stock market crash in 1929, the 80s, the 90s, the dot-com bubble. And basically it's weathered all the storms because that's what it's built for. It's built on ensuring someone's personal life, but we're not using it as just life insurance. We're using it to bank and to be the banker, to make money, to pay off your debt, or even invest in real estate or other opportunities that allow your money to compound and grow at the same time.
Okay, so this tool that's literally been around forever, and the
Yes.
Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and all of them, they utilize this tool to do like some of the big building projects. Like, didn't we talk one time? Didn't I understand like Trump used some of it for some of his buildings and stuff?
Trump has, probably the most famous person would be Walt Disney. Walt Disney used his life insurance to start Disney World.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. And so the benefit of them using their life insurance is what? Because if they're taking this money, doesn't that mean they don't have it then when they die?
No, that's not true. So there's very specific criteria, and the reason why it's misunderstood and a lot of people haven't heard about it or think they know what they're talking about is it has to be with very special companies. So think stockholder companies like a bank or a credit union. So these are companies that are like credit unions where you as a member or a policy owner get to share in the profit of that company. And there's some other key criteria that you don't get dinged on taking a loan out. So your growth isn't compromised by withdrawing it. Imagine your 401k and you pulled out your money, and let's not even talk about the taxing or the penalties.
Right.
But if you pull your money out, now your money won't grow.
Right.
In this situation, we design it so you can take money out and maintain that growth.
Which is unbelievable. And it's like, how would they stay in business then? Aren't they losing money then, not making money? Because insurances, they're in the business to make money?
Well, they're not in the business to make lots of money, but they're there to make money at a very conservative pace. So they're not necessarily betting, but they're insuring someone's life. And they know at a certain time, based on different factors, your health, your credit, your habits, where you live, how old you are, that you're going to die at a certain age. And they insure that. So they have to pay out a death benefit at some point. So they make conservative investments to make sure that your family or beneficiary is paid. Now, as being part of one of these credit union or mutual companies, you as a policy owner have first right to withdraw those funds and put them to use. And I shouldn't say withdraw, you can take a loan against the balance of the company. You're not taking out your money, you're taking out the company's money. So your money is still compounding.
You're using other people's money.
Yeah, I think we've heard of that from some guy that said OPP, right? Or OPM, sorry, I'm thinking a rap song from the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the, right, as real estate investors, we always love doing that, right? Because we recognize the potential then is to grow exponentially because we're not limited by us, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That pool is it's always better when you can use somebody else's bucket, which is 10 times bigger than yours, to do the exact same thing. So that's a phenomenal thing. But if it's life insurance, and you just said they pretty much predict when their person's going to die, I remember we had a conversation, and when we were talking about it, they insure you until you're age 121.
Correct, because people are living longer.
Yeah, well, if they calculate that they think you're going to die at 79, doesn't that mean they're going to lose money because they're going to have to pay it out knowing you're probably going to die at 79, not 121?
Well, they insure you until 121. So that's where this policy, it's a legal contract. Okay. And they say if you live to age 121, the contract is fulfilled and it's completed, and we will now pay you that versus having you die in any previous year. So you reach 121, policy's over, the terms are met, here's your check. Oh. Because you never died.
I don't know anybody that's lived to be 121 yet.
There are a few people out there.
It's getting better, right?
I know, I'm working on it.
yeah, it is. It's definitely getting better, that's for sure. So what would you say are the main benefits to choosing this type of insurance over, well, because it's not just whole life insurance. There is a difference. So what would you say are the main benefits to choosing this type of, do you have a specific name for this product?
There isn't any specific name. So the different books and resources out there, people are using their own marketing names for it. It's often called the infinite banking concept. Okay. There's another author who's called it the bank on yourself, cash flow banking, family banking, but it's all utilizing the same structure to create the cash flow. So don't think anything, the life insurance is the only way that we can legally use it to make it with all the tax benefits, with the loans that we can take out to keep that cash flow and compounding. It just happens to be in a life insurance vessel.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
So let me just say real quick, Bethany, that most people, when they think of life insurance, they want to pay as little premium for as much death benefit. And the only time you're doing anything is when you're paying it and when you die.
Right.
These are policies that are living and breathing that you get to use while you're alive. So we almost create it opposite. We want to create as much value in it, like equity in a home, and as little death benefits so you can use it like a bank.
Okay, so like for instance, term life.
Yeah.
Let's just try to paint the picture a little bit. In term life, oftentimes I would try to get the lowest monthly payment, so I think at one point it was costing us $40 a month, right? And that would give us, say, a $500,000 policy. But it would only be for, say, 10 years. And then we would have to reapply. Well, then when we reapply, we're 10 years older, and now we have, different criteria in that. So then they charge us a higher premium usually at that point.
Well, you're probably 10 years closer to your death at that point. So they're going to charge a larger premium.
Right.
But you don't build any equity in that.
Yeah. So after the 10 years, I paid that $40 a month for 10 years. And I'm going, unless I died, I got nothing out of it. Right.
Exactly. Correct.
And so in this situation, I would be paying whatever my monthly premium is, But during that life, in this case, it's not 10 years. It's till I'm 121. During all that life, whatever age I am now, until then, I'm not telling you my age. During all that time, I would be able to do what with it?
You could do whatever you want with it. So what I find most people want to do, depending on what stage of life they're in, a lot of people want to pay off debt. A lot of people want to invest in real estate. A lot of people also want to potentially be a hard money lender. So there's multiple uses and there's no restrictions on it. That's why I like it so much. It's not because it's life insurance. It's because I have liquidity, use, and control of my own money. And I can do whatever I want with it.
Okay. So if I was paying my monthly premium,
yes,
and I don't have to wait 10 years, you know, within a short amount of time, 30 days or 60 days, I can't remember exactly how much you told me, I would be able to, I would have access to like 80% of what my value of my premium is. And I would be able to pay that on debt, or I could pay off, you know, pay my car or whatever I wanted with it, or loan it to somebody and charge them even more money.
Potentially.
And then whatever I want, no questions asked. And then I simply pay it back, and I can keep doing that over and over and over again. Is that about it?
That is correct. So the initial value may be different depending on how much your premium is, how much you put in initially, but that is the initial concept. I'll give you an example of what I did initially. I had some high interest credit card rates, and I had a chunk of money, and rather than take that chunk of money and just pay those off, and that money would have been gone like the river. It would have gone down the stream and it never would have had any opportunity to grow. But instead, I put that money into one of these banking policies, and now it's growing. And I take out the money that I would have used to pay off those credit cards anyways. And now the debt is paid off. And now instead of paying the high interest rate credit card company, I pay it back into my account.
Wow, that seems way too good to be true. I mean, because literally all you've done is one more step. Right? So instead of just going and, you know, giving Chase Bank your $10,000 to pay off that credit card, you literally put it into this insurance policy, then turned around and loaned it to pay off that card. And now that amount of your policy is compounding and growing, and you still have access to it. It didn't disappear like if you just paid it to Chase. Right.
So think of like the Hoover Dam. Before that dam was built, rain would flow through the Colorado River, and eventually it would go to the Pacific Ocean. And there wouldn't be any real generation of energy from it. But because they put in this barrier, now there's a reservoir built up through it. And now that water still has to flow to the Pacific, but now you're turning the turbines and you're generating electricity. And we're doing the same thing with water, or with money, as they're doing with water. You're just capturing the flow and charging it up and turbocharging what would have just passed through anyways.
Wow, okay, here's the thing, right? Anytime you hear something that is new or foreign, what do we always say? Oh, it sounds too good to be true.
Exactly.
It can't be true. It sounds too good to be true. If it sounds too good to be true, it's got to be a lie. It's got to be. So if that's the case, and this is so good, why aren't more people doing it?
That's a great question, and it depends how deep down the rabbit hole you want to go. So as a finance major, they didn't even teach us about this in college. It took me several years of being a ski bum until I read the right book. And I was very skeptical myself at first. So I probably did about over a year of research, and I read every book possible. And I started with an initial smaller premium. And I said, all right, I'm going to test this, make sure it's legitimate. And it worked. And then when I realized how much potential, that $1 million that I gave up by not doing this first, by not creating that Hoover Dam, I said, let's go big and let's see how this can really work. So I would say the reason why people haven't heard about it, it depends on where you're getting your information. If you only watch one news channel versus another news channel, you're not going to hear the other side. You're not going to hear about some of these other alternatives, especially when it comes to your money.
Right.
So I don't say all financial advisors are bad, but think about what their interest is. They make a percentage of your assets under management. And it doesn't matter if your portfolio goes up, down, or stays even, they still get a percentage.
Right.
So there's no incentive for them to tell you about this alternative where you can now compound your wealth and pay off your daily living debts like you normally would anyways.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and not only that, they only want you to know about whatever products they offer. So if the majority of financial education that's being put out to the general public or the consumer, it's coming from the big banks, right? Chase,
Yeah.
Wells Fargo, you know, whatever products they have to offer. So they don't have anything like this. So of course they're not going to push it. They're not going to educate it, which is why was ecstatic when you and I talked and you mentioned it to me, and I'm like, I don't think I fully understood what he said, so I'm going to do some research on my own. And so I did a little bit more research, and it is definitely, it was new to me too. So the concept completely makes sense once you've explained it to me, but I also understand that this sounds way too good to be true. This doesn't make any sense. You know, like, good example. Every year, right, it's December, January rolls around, guess what? We got to pay the taxes, right? So that's a big bill for a business every single year. One of our investors we just met with last week from Hawaii, he paid $400,000 in taxes last year. $400,000. That money's just gone. It's just absolutely gone.
But shouldn't he be earning interest on that?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was
Well, what if you could? What if you could earn interest on every dollar that ever passed through your life as income?
That would be amazing and sounds completely unbelievable. Like, how is that even possible?
Well, you got to change your mind, just like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, just like these other concepts. I think a lot of wealth is about your mental thoughts and your process and being open into new alternatives. If you think like everyone else does, you're going to get what everyone else gets. Right.
Like the thousands of lemmings that jump off the cliff faithfully, and they just still keep jumping and off one rack.
Yeah. Do what you've always been told. Pay down your debt, accelerate your mortgage payment. But what about capturing all this and making interest on that $400,000 first, and then pay off your debt? Pay your taxes.
We're not in any way, shape, or form advocating don't pay your taxes. We're not in any way, shape, or form
not at all
advocating don't pay your bills, go rack up all these bills. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is just simply making a shift in the process, in how you pay your bills. So it's kind of like, instead of riding the bus to work, you drive your car. You just change. You're still going to work. You're still accomplishing the same goal. You're just using a different vehicle. So
well, Bethany, that's why I called my company the Wealth Foundation. I'm helping people create a foundation, and whatever they want to build on top of that is up to them. So if you want to be a real estate investor, if you want to be an Amazon seller, if you want to be a hard money, I'll build the foundation for you, and then you steer the cash flow however you want. But let's capture all that income, all that stream of money flowing through your life, and make it work more for you.
Yeah. Oh my, that is exactly. Well, it's what's lacking by far, but it's also what, honestly, I believe holds so many people back. And, you know, in our meetup, the Crazy Entrepreneur Meetup, entrepreneurs do so many different things. And in so many ways, if they could tweak one thing, another investor of mine and coach who's been a huge impact in our life, literally it's 1 degree, right? At 1 degree, that simple shift of one little minor thing that can make a huge impact on, you know, not just our family, but other families in our community. And that's amazing. I'm so thankful, Eric, for the time and for you explaining this to me, which is amazing. So the cool part about this is we have our meetup coming up on January 9th. And we're excited to be hosting you and explaining and kind of giving time with people one-on-one where they can bring their questions and answers and things, and learn a little bit more about this, and possibly set up times and whatnot. But what would be the best way at this point for people to get in touch with you? Would it be for them to call you, or would it be for them to send you an email?
You know what, whatever works best for you. I find different people like different modes of communication. So you can always call, you can text me. The number's the same, 844-OWN-BANK. That's 844-62. Oh, I got 696-2265. Sorry, you got me thinking about banking. Or you can always email me as well.
All right.
So the way I know that your people are reaching out to me would be amhs@thewealthfoundation.org.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. So that's, so we're super excited about getting to host you and having you explain some more and field some more questions on our meetup on the 9th. And I do believe it takes more than one time of having the conversation. So I'm hoping this will kind of stir the irons and the fires of people a little bit, especially before they go pay that tax bill, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why I'm like,
Start your compounding before you start paying someone else the money.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Let's really stop and look and go, wait, if I can tweak this and I can do this. And I mean, the first time I really started getting what you were saying, my mind was just absolutely blown. And then it was racing. Oh, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I mean, it was just so exciting to stop and realize it's like, you know, getting into a Volvo versus getting into a Ferrari. It's like, clearly I want the Ferrari because I want to get to where I want to go faster and way more fun. I mean, it's just more fun when you can recognize the opportunity that's given to you and you can do something with it. That's amazing. I'm so thankful, Eric, for not just your company, but even just the impact you guys have already had with us. You've had so many conversations, breaking it down. Especially,
it took me longer than you, so you're doing great.
No,
but I
no.
appreciate the opportunity.
You just say that because you've seen me through those concussions and you're like, oh my word, yeah, you're doing fine. But I'm thankful and super excited. I can't wait to see, you know, what goes on more with this next year. I know we've talked about it as well because you have your Airbnb business and we have ours, and you know, so that's definitely an area that interests us. And then we also have talked a little bit further about just different avenues and things of really just trying to educate people. And we definitely have that common goal of, look, we want to help empower people. And that's what I believe education does, is it empowers people to be the best them. And we weren't created the same. We were created different for a reason, right?
Definitely.
So I am very thankful for you and for your time. And I'm super excited about January 9th when we can get together. And we'll be posting the venue address and all that information on our site as well. So if there's opportunities or people that are wanting to go that hasn't already registered, you can text the word webinar to 360-810-5755. And we can share the webinar with you as well, or we can type you in. I think we're talking about maybe possibly doing a live some kind of feed of some kind where people that can't be there can still get the questions to you for the Q&A session, and we can go through it and they can still get that information. So text the word webinar to that number, and then we'll be able to make sure if you want to get in on that live feed, we'll get that information out to you. And we're just looking forward to an amazing 2020 and excited to kick it off right with some good old, I wouldn't say old, I would say helpful financial education, right? Ways to really kickstart this next year and really impact everybody's lives in an amazing way. And I'm super excited, Eric. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you,
Bethany,
making time for us and all of our quirkiness, but I appreciate you and what you've done. And I appreciate you driving all the way down from Bellingham to meet up with us and taking that time. So thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity, and I definitely look forward to the 9th.
All right. Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to seeing you then. And until then, we'll talk to you later then.
All right. Happy holidays.
Thanks. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.